Right, hello there everybody, welcome to the Adam Clery football channel. Yes, well done, Adam Clery, obviously, and not to sound like Chancellor Palpatine, but it's Gyokeres then. Sorry, I was watching Revenge of the Sith last night. Anyway, Arsenal's 3-year-long hunt, which I think is a fair comment, for a centre-forward appears to be ending with Viktor Gyökeres. Now, is that good? Is that bad? I shall answer those questions thusly, but let's just say it's complicated, this one. Alright, so headlines. Swedish international, 27 years old. I'm not doing the bit in this video. Portuguese league winner. 97 club goals. 97 in the last 2 seasons. And yet, despite that, this is still the same Viktor Gyökeres that got 1 goal in 12 games on loan at Swansea and could not even get a look in when he was at Brighton. Although, and here's some good trivia for you, of the paltry number of goals he got in the Premier League 2 for Brighton, this one's assisted by Ben White. That's funny, isn't it? Anyway, though, just to cut all the foreplay in this video, Arsenal want him because he is the most reliable and prolific goal scorer realistically available on the market this summer, and they have a massive problem with scoring goals. Kai Havertz missed 15 Premier League games last season with injury and still finished as their top goal scorer with 9. Trossard and Martinelli both chipped in with 8. Marino's run up front got him 7. Saka 6. Rice 4. And then everyone else with a handful here and there. Not one single Arsenal player broke double figures for them in the league last season. The first time they've managed that since 1923, by the way. And you simply cannot win the Premier League with that level of firepower. And again, just to be incredibly blunt, Arsenal's sole objective, in my opinion, should be to win the Premier League. And in fact, if we look at the last 2 teams to win the Premier League, they've both got a guaranteed source of 25 to 30 goals, then at least 2 other players who break the 10-goal mark before you get into all the lesser contributions. And the reason I think Arsenal's only objective should be to win this league is because they conceded less goals than Man City in this season and less goals than Liverpool in this season. So they're halfway there. Like, I can do all the nuanced content you like about how Zubamendi will help them with ball progression, or they can buy Eze and dominate this channel, etc., and so on. But it's all pretty academic unless they solve the problem of scoring enough goals. And that is what Gyokeres is here to do. Right, so some absolutely trademark Adam Clery over-analysis of an otherwise innocuous moment in a game of football. Arsenal are 3-0 down in the League Cup semi-final here, so it's fair to say they quite desperately need a goal. They successfully play through Newcastle's press at no mean feat and get into the middle. Declan Rice turns, is in an impossibly large amount of space, and is greeted with this. And that, from a chance creation perspective, is absolutely minging. Your front 3 is somehow double parked over on the right-hand side. That's Jurriën Timber, by the way, because they did a clever rotation with Martinelli to get him up the pitch. But Kai Havertz, who for all his qualities as a centre-forward, always drifts out to this right-hand side. Like, here's a graph I used in the Seshko video showing that that is what he does. Havertz likes to play in this space more than I like to do literally nothing on the weekend. But neither him nor Timber are looking to get in behind despite this amount of space. And then on the other side, Raheem Sterling, who I think's got a really good opportunity to get into this break in the line between Trippier and Schär, is actually peeling off wide. Like, it's mad because there's all that space in behind, and Declan Rice is more than good enough to play into it, but the lack of anyone gambling with a run into here or into here means they wind up on the edge of the box, all the space is gone, and then so is the chance. But whenever you put Viktor Gyökeres in those exact same situations, he isn't looking to drop off or to peel out wide, he's looking to attack this space in behind. Like, this is an example from a Sporting game, right? And if you're an Arsenal fan, let me know if you agree with me here, right? But if this is either Marino or Havertz or Jesus or whoever Arsenal use, in this scenario, they'd drop into this space here, wouldn't they? They'd find this pocket, then they'd either go out to Saka here, try and get him in behind, or let's presume this is Rice, or somebody find him, and then they would spin. But Gyokeres does not do any of that. He just goes. And not only does he go, but he is found, and then he scores. Like, this is a direct attacking threat through the middle of the pitch, in behind defences, and that is what Arsenal almost never, ever seem to have. And he also, and this is a very nice little optograph to illustrate it, is just incredibly direct even without having to give him a chance. If you give him the ball, he'll try and do the same thing. If he does have to drop deep in any of these areas, he gets on the ball and then he will bulldoze his way forward. And you've kind of got to watch him do these runs to understand them, because it's not like he's incredibly technical or skillful or really quick. He doesn't burn past defenders. He's just so strong and has such good close control that even when they do catch him, they can't really knock him off the ball, and he will quite happily jockey a defender all the way into a goal-scoring position and then still have the balance to shoot. It's quite a unique skill he's got. And then if we have a cheeky little peek down the blouse of his stats, right? These are from the Portuguese league season exclusively, so obviously they look absolutely incredible. Shot volume is massive, shot accuracy is massive, and he's creating chances as well at a phenomenal rate. But obviously, it's the Portuguese league here, and some people will tell you that that's not a good enough league to draw accurate conclusions about his suitability for the Prem. So let us contextualize this with his Champions League numbers from last season as well, and obviously, yep, they take a bit of a hit because the quality of opposition is quite radically different from what he's getting in the league every week. But not so much that if I was an Arsenal fan or staff member or chief executive or something like that, I'd be overly worried. I still think they're pretty good. Still nearly a goal a game, which puts him in the elite bracket. The shot volume's still really high. The conversion's decent enough, I would say. But looking at the XG per shot, which is like, if you'll humour me on this, the alleged quality of all the chances he's getting, that takes a pretty massive dip, which is what you'd expect, isn't it? Because they're playing against much better teams. Now, just to give you an example here, they went from thrashing Estrella 5-1 at the weekend with 64% of the ball to playing Man City 3 days later and seeing 27% of it. But the good news there is that Viktor Gyökeres scored 7 goals in those two very different games. 7. And the reason you can do stuff like that is the one major consistent between these two sets of numbers, the goals minus XG, which again, if you will just humour me and go with me on the XG stuff, is a pretty important stat that football clubs do look at. It's supposed to measure just how dependable you are as a forward. At the very least, can you be expected to take the amount of chances that the data says you should, or even better, can you take more than the data says you should? That's what makes you valuable as a goal scorer. And if you look at the numbers both in the Portuguese League and the Champions League last season, regardless of the quality of opposition he's facing, he is overperforming that number to the tune of like getting you a goal out of nothing every 4 or 5 games. It is consistent regardless of the opposition. And just hang on, I can sense some skepticism from portions of the audience there, because I know people get a bit weird about XG because it's clearly, you know, for terrible, terrible nerds. But let me just prove that works, right? You look at Kai Havertz's number, who's obviously an excellent player, but generally considered not a ruthless finisher. It's negative and quite low, which means he's doing his best, but he's not pulling up any trees. And you look at Alexander Isak's number, who is considered a ruthless, reliable goal scorer, and it's a positive number. So it does play out based on what you see as well. And the reason I am at pains to have you buy into this particular statistic, right, is because it sort of proves, or at least suggests, that Gyokeres is as reliable in the games where you're going to have space and be able to counterattack, which is what everyone says he's good at, but also still reliably finish for you in games where you're up against a determined low block, which is what everyone says he's not good at. And the reason that's important is because the latter of those two is specifically the thing Arsenal seem to really struggle with and need their new goal scorer to be really good at. 14 draws in the league last season, meaning there were 14 times where Arsenal were one clinical moment away from winning a game of football. Now, these are all the defeats and their losses in the league last season. And if you look at this column down the right-hand side, I was going to make another big fuss about the goals minus XG thing. Like, oh my God, if they'd just taken the chances they were already making, then they'd have what? Drawn with Newcastle and West Ham? They'd have beat Everton, beat Brighton, beat Forest, beat Fulham, maybe even beat Man United, Chelsea and Liverpool if the finishing had been really good, but I'm not going to do that. Even though technically I already did, because I think the more interesting thing is not the chances they're already making, it's the chances they will be able to make. This moment, my friends, comes from the 0-0 draw with Everton, right? Havertz has done the Havertz thing of dropping off into the right-hand half space. No shade, he's very good at that. And he uses it to get Saka into a very good position here. He skips past the defender, he gets in behind, and there is just... there's no pass on. Nobody is breaking beyond the defenders. 3 players here, just all behind their markers. How incredibly frustrating if only someone had gambled on that. A few minutes earlier, Havertz is actually in the centre-forward area this time. Lucky us, but look how isolated Saka now is. He skips inside of this challenge, is crying out for any sort of run into this space for him to slip the ball into. But we know Ødegaard doesn't really make those from deep. He wants to stay on the edge of the box, and Havertz just doesn't make those at all. And so, again, absolutely nothing happens. How frustrating. If only someone would make that run. Now, the thing is, Gyokeres is not supposed to be particularly well suited to that sort of game. If you look at his goals catalogue for Sporting, it's getting into space here. It's hitting the opponents on the counter-attack here. It's not really the physical and disciplined low blocks that Arsenal see pretty much every single week in the Premier League. But the thing is, when you do watch him play, he is strong and he is physical and his movement is really good and he can get snapshots away with both feet. So I don't think he's necessarily as bad a fit for this type of game state, or whatever you call it, as people are making out. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's quite a lot of work for Arteta to do to get him comfortable in these games, but I would argue he has got all the raw physical attributes needed to adapt his game. And in Arteta, you've got a coach who you know works really hard on the training ground. So it's not a home run, but I think it could potentially quite quickly be a good fit. Now, here's another point of balance for you, right? Gyokeres is obviously very quick and very strong and very intelligent in Portugal, and when he gets put up against quicker and stronger and more intelligent defenders in the Premier League, he is going to struggle. Like, everyone was going mad about that hat-trick he scored against Man City, but he was up against Rico Lewis and Jamai Simpson-Pusey in that game. A week later, he had Arsenal, and it was Gabriel and Saliba who had him alarmingly well marshalled for the entire 90 minutes. The thing is, right, even in that game, he kept doing all the right things, he kept making all the right movements, he kept fighting for his team, and in the 85th minute, at 5-1 down, he does this. You would forgive him for having given up, and yet he fights off Saliba, charges at Clery, takes it all the way to the box, and hits the post. And I'll tell you why, Mr. and or Mrs. Arsenal fan, I'm showing you that, right? Because you go back to that 0-0 with Everton. Do you remember this? It's the 87th minute, so largely the same period of the match, but this time it's 0-0. It's still all to play for. You're not 4 goals behind. Arsenal go long, nothing comes of it, and Everton shield the ball to run down the clock. And it takes Arsenal nearly 10 seconds to gently jog someone over to force Pickford to pick it up and resume the game. 10 seconds. Now, from a mentality perspective, I would find that quite alarming. Like, it's a lack of fire, it's a lack of determination, it's a lack of fight in the final third, and it's probably caused by the fact nobody in there is a determined goal scorer. And that is the one guarantee you do have with Gyokeres. Like, maybe, okay, he finds it a lot harder to score goals in this division than he was in Portugal, but he will keep working for you whatever the score and however he has been playing. Like, one thing you absolutely can guarantee about him is he does not give a shit how the game is going or how he's playing or if he's missed the last 2 or 3 chances. He will still do all the right things and work incredibly hard to be on the end of the next one. And honestly, I know it's impossible to quantify stuff like that with data, but I would argue going buying a player of that kind of mindset is probably equally as important as getting you someone who guarantees 25 or 30 goals. Like, I would rather have someone who gets 15 goals and plays like that than someone who gets 25 and will just walk around if you're losing. So just to conclude here for you, right, I think he will help Arsenal better take the chances that they already do make. I think he will help Arsenal to create a lot of chances that they currently don't. And also, he should be a floor raiser for the team's mentality when it comes to goal scoring. And don't get me wrong, there is no way in hell he continues this 50 goals a season thing when he moves to the Premier League, but I don't think he's got to. Like, if he gets you 15, maybe 20 in all competitions, that could be absolutely massive for Arsenal. That could be the difference between second and yeah. But of course, you know how this works by now. Arsenal fans, your opinion is worth considerably more than mine is in this situation. So let me know how you feel about this transfer, which I'm rolling the dice here. I kind of got reliably informed this was done, so I'm recording it under the assumption it has happened, even though right now, at this exact moment, it has not happened. And you know how things work in football. So I might look really silly with this, but I'm relatively confident, let's say. And presuming I haven't made a complete tit of myself, why not subscribe to us here at ACFC so you can see all the transfer videos we do this summer. Arsenal specifically, Madueke, Eze, you're going to have another big one before the summer's out, so you might as well click the button so you don't miss that one. Don't know why I pulled a face. And you can follow me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. That's how you spell it. Yeah, that's it. Bye. I think you score goals. I think you'll score goals. Goals.